Hey, and I'm Yo Bisrat, Senior Engineer and Tech Lead for Furnishment.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about our product and walk you through what the typical usage of Bloom's API looks like to furnish consumers credit data. Bloom Credit's modernizing the connectivity between the major credit bureaus and end customers by making it easier to both access and furnish accurate credit data and without error. Our goal is to simplify your reporting to the bureaus and eliminate the need for credit, Metro 2, and compliance experts with our simple, RESTful, event-based API. Bloom has constructed a bi-directional platform that can be used to perform credit inquiries as well as to deliver furnishable credit data to the major bureaus in near real time. The Furnishment API, our topic for today, implements around 450 data validations and quality checks to ensure the utmost accuracy of consumer information sent to the major bureaus. We see this as an important differentiator for our product, but also really important in the bigger picture, helping address the findings of a CFPB report and concluded over 12 million US consumers had material errors on their credit reports that led to adverse outcomes, either being denied credit or having to pay a higher interest rate as a result of that error. So first we'll talk about furnishment. Furnishment is the process of providing payment data to credit bureaus, and in the Bloom platform, that starts with registering a consumer.
The Consumer API allows you to manage consumer PII, including creating, reading, updating, and deleting records for a specific consumer that belongs to a tenant in the platform. Generally, we refer to each tenant as an organization, but the two terms are synonymous.
And although we're discussing consumers and the Consumer API in the context of furnishment, it's worth noting that once registered, a consumer can be used by both the furnishment and data access APIs. So if your initial use case with Bloom is credit inquiries used for decisioning a credit product, and then you want to start furnishing the data, the consumers you registered for data access are also available for furnishment. And conversely, if you start off working with Bloom on furnishment, then want to add another use case like account review for your customers, they'll already be registered and be available for use within the data access API.
Bloom will provide you with a set of credentials, a client ID and a client secret, which will give you access to the furnishment service. In order to make requests to the furnishment service, you'll need to hit an authentication service endpoint to generate an API token. You'll be provided with a client ID and a client secret, as well as an audience and grant type. The endpoint will return an access token. You'll see here that I saved this in a variable called Consumer Hub Access Token. Going forward, I'll be using this token to make requests to other furnishment endpoints.
Portfolios are Bloom's solution for an organization handling different types of credits or businesses. This way, a single organization can have one or multiple portfolios for their different credit products. For example, mortgages, credit cards, loans, or different business units managed under the same umbrella. An organization may offer a variety of products to its customers, each having its own unique characteristics. A portfolio can also be thought of as a grouping of accounts that belong to the same class. And like consumers, a portfolio is a concept that spans across data access as well as furnishment. Portfolios that you define for furnishment are available for credit inquiries and vice versa. Now that you have access to Bloom's API, the first step in the process is to create the portfolio.
Bloom sets up portfolios on behalf of the clients to ensure that all the values are correct and aligned with the credit bureau's requirements. You'll need to first fill out a form found in our API docs.
Once you've completed the API authentication setup and created your portfolio, you can start registering consumers within Bloom using the Consumer API. When an organization signs a consumer to one of its products, the outcome is the creation of a new consumer ID and its related accounts. A consumer represents a single, unique, real-world human being, but consumers can be affiliated with multiple organizations within Bloom.
So once again, I'll show you a demo of how to create a consumer using the core API. So here is the consumer's endpoint. You'll see some of the notable fields here are the social security number, the date of birth, the name, and the addresses. So for the social security number, if you filled out in the portfolio form that the social security number validation is required, you'll be required to pass a valid social security number. Also, you'll need to provide a date of birth. And for the name, you'll need at least the first name and the last name. And for the addresses, we actually accept a list of addresses. You'll just need to, by default, have one selected as the primary.
Now that we just created a consumer with this particular ID, and we've also created a credit product with the particular ID, The next step now is to create an account. Now, an account is an instance of a portfolio in its relation to one or more consumers. One consumer can hold multiple accounts. A consumer can have multiple accounts with different portfolios, such as a home loan and a credit card, both associated with the same bank. Then all the accounts will have the same consumer name, but a unique account ID that provides consumer loan details, EMI payment history, and credit limit and balance details.
So this is the account endpoint. Let's see how this works. So the first thing you'll see is the credit product ID. This is actually the portfolio ID that will be provided to you after filling out the portfolio form. The next thing is the primary consumer ID. So this will be the ID that you used or that you created earlier in the response for the consumer create endpoint. And then another notable field is this reported consumer account number. So if in that portfolio form, you said that you wanted to provide your own unique reported consumer account number, you would be required to pass the reported consumer account number here. In this instance, for this portfolio, I actually set it to false so that Bloom would generate it for us. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And let's go ahead and just create this account. Okay, awesome. So this is the account that was just created. You'll see that we generated a reported consumer account number for this account. And now we have the account ID for it.
Now that we've created the portfolio, consumer, and accounts, we can create a statement to report and furnish the data. Statements are submitted for each account within a reporting cycle, and the payments from the account holders are included within the statement accordingly. That statement will include customer, account, and payment details.
Okay, so now I'll showcase the create statement endpoint. So first you'll need to provide the account ID, which we created earlier. So go ahead and paste that here. Also, we can see that there are several other fields on the statement that we collect, such as the current balance, the days delinquent, the credit limit, and scheduled payment amount. Now, one of the more important fields is the statement date. The statement date is essentially a date for the snapshot of the account. Not every field here is reported on the Metro 2, and some of the fields that we capture are actually calculated and are saved internally in our system. So now I'll go ahead and create the statement. Awesome. So now we see that there's a statement, and for the purposes of this demo, I'll just go ahead and create this, or I'll copy this statement ID. So now that we've created a statement for this account, we should be able to see all the statements created for that credit product using the get statements by credit product ID endpoint.
To wrap things up, we've now shown you how to create a consumer, create an account, create a statement, and view statements based on a single portfolio ID. Some other notable capabilities Bloom offers are several account events that indicate some level of account status and/or derogatory information, such as charge-offs, closures, and deletions due to fraud. In addition, we also offer the ability to report consumer events, such as bankruptcy. So now, that's the basics of how to use the Bloom's API to furnish data. If you want more detailed information for interacting with our APIs, check out our development documentation homepage, shown here.